Nevertheless, obviously, that's not the way to use the Bible. If you're going to use the Bible that way, then you can use the Bible to say anything you want. And because there's been a revulsion and a reaction to that, I think there has been a tendency to leave single texts. Well, I want to bring this fashion back. I think a single text can often focus a message and make us bring something to bear on people's minds and hearts that they can't forget, because it's all concentrated on one word from God. And we're going to turn to 1 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 2, a very well-known saying of Paul's. I'll read it, and of course it will involve traveling to Corinth, as we did in my first video lecture, but that's not going to be the main instruction that I want to give you. So let me read it first, and then I'll tell you what the instruction is. 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 2. For I resolved to know nothing while I was with you except Jesus Christ and him crucified. I resolved to know nothing while I was with you except Jesus Christ and him crucified. 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 2. Now the main instruction at this session is going to be called asking questions. So let's come to 1 Corinthians 2:2. If you have it open in front of you, it'll be a help to me. And because I know this text quite well, I'm able to come straight away with some relevant questions. It might take somebody who didn't know the text well longer to do it, but I'm going to ask what are the obviously relevant questions that quickly unlock it. First question. When did Paul write this down? And the answer to that is that he wrote it down 4 or 5 years after his initial visit to Corinth. He's not making this resolution in his study now while he's drinking his cup of coffee and working out what he wants to say to the Corinthians. He's not saying now, while he's writing, I resolve to know Christ and him crucified. He's looking back to the time that he landed in Corinth and began his great program of evangelization. It was then, in Corinth, 4 or 5 years before, that he faced the daunting task, the almost impossible task, of planting a church in Corinth. A church in Corinth, if you've read anything about Corinth, which was now, of course, the first city in Asia, it was a lascivious place. Sex had the sanction of religion, sexual orgies. It was a pretty tough nut to crack. And at that time, coming to this particular place, facing the call to evangelize, he there made this great resolution.